Hello everyone. So, back again after a long break. I know it's been a while since the last video I posted, and I believe that video was the first work in progress video for my 1/60th scale Wing Zero. And I have gotten a bit done more on that model, and I have some more work in progress video footage shot, and I'm getting ready to edit that all together. But I wanted to do this update video first for a couple of reasons. The first and foremost, I suppose, is relating to the standing of my channel now. If you may remember from a while ago, my channel got hit by a couple of bullshit copyright strikes, and then I was no longer able to post videos that were any longer than 15 minutes, and the channel itself was on the risk of being deleted. I had a whole nother channel set up just in case that had happened. But I'm happy to announce that several months later now, the strikes have been lifted, my account's in good standing, I can post longer videos now, but I will continue to keep my secondary channel around for the, risky videos that might have some music or other sort of creative elements involved, and are a little more significant than me just sitting in front of a camera talking. So that's the first bout of good news I wanted to share. And the second is my holiday haul. And I know this is a bit late in coming, but there are some really cool things here that I think are really worth showing off. Let's see, where to start? I suppose I'll start here. I was watching a video by Matt Mrozik. That guy had been doing work in progress videos on his master grade Sazabi. And he had a panel lining tutorial, or at least a part of one of his videos that revolved around panel lining. And he was talking about these Faber-Castell India ink pens. And so I decided to give these a shot, and they do work pretty well. I've got one here that is a extra fine tip, and then one of them that is like a broader tip. This is for like your sunken in regular panel lines, and this is for panel lines that wrap around like raised protruding sections of armor that aren't actually separated by a panel. So I'm just gonna have to give these a try on my next project, probably the Wing Zero. So yeah, happy to have those. And also, I spied a good deal on eBay for these nail tease Precision Qtips. And I know that they make a line of like Mr. Hobby kind, or some other kind of brand like that for model building. And you can use these for like reverse washes, or you can use them for like water slide decals and things like that. And this comes in a pack of 120, and the good deal was that you got 2 packs for $7 with shipping, as opposed to paying around $5 with shipping for one container. So that was pretty cool, and I should be able to make some good use out of these. And what else? Moving on. Here's something interesting. This is an item of the sort that I've been wanting for as long as I have been around building Gunpla. What this is a transparent UV paint. And this is red colored. Now what you see here is a very, very thick, concentrated, gooey paint, which is actually lacquer based, thinnable, sprayable, and can be used like a clear top coat. Once it's sprayed thinly enough, this stuff is pretty much invisible. Now what really is cool about this is when you shine a black light on it. I know it'll be hard to see in this lighting here, so I may do some extra pictures here. But basically, if you see on the bottom there, you can tell the difference. You can start to see it fluoresce. And I have quite a few ideas in mind for what I could use this stuff for. Just off the top of my head, beam sabers. Or perhaps you want to try to do a Trans Am color scheme. You just spray this over the entire kit. Granted, it'll look a little monotone when you do, but that would be a pretty crazy result. So, very glad to have this. I purchased this stuff off of Amazon. If you look for transparent UV paint, it should pop up. And there's a couple other colors, blue and green. Should be interesting. Moving on, I also bought a set of I keep calling these batteries. They're magnets. They are magnets from K&J Magnetics. And they are all stuck together here. That's nice. Anyway, I'll start with a few of these. These are like 50 count of little disc magnets. Very, very, very tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny little magnets. I don't know if it'll even focus. And then similarly, I've got these like rectangle magnets. They're not very, very strong connecting magnet to magnet, but they are stronger when connecting magnet to metal. So for these magnets, I might be able to do things like, you know, attaching magnets in the hands to a metal bit attached to the handle of a weapon or something like that. So I'll give these a try, and maybe I'll use them and maybe I won't, but either way, my entire order from them cost like $10 plus shipping. The other ones I got are a little more interesting. This pack has a set of magnets that have a unique shape to them. You'll notice how there's sort of like a protrusion on the ends there. Sort of a nub. And then on these ones, you've got slots on the ends there. Well, my thinking was you could you could, there we go. They would go together like so. The slots would fit the pegs inside of them, and so whatever you're trying to connect together would sort of lock not only with magnetized strength, but with actual structural strength too. Now, I had a pretty specific idea of what I want to use these for, and I may eventually get around to it. It's sort of a long-forgotten, packed-away project that I just want to really work my way up to. And this is one part of something that I think will be very helpful if I can mod them into place properly. So, got those along with all the other magnets I got, so I can try those out and hopefully they'll work for what I have in mind. Also, I have a few other things, quite a few other things. I suppose we can start with this next item. This here is the Yongnuo 160S, and what this is an LED unit. This has 160 LEDs strung together into one large lamp. Now, why would I want this? Well, making videos, especially with this camera, can become pretty difficult when there's not enough light. So, not only does this thing come with its own little stand, which you could use to prop this up somewhere and use it as like an independent light stand. What you can also do is separate it from the base, and there's a little hot shoe attachment right on the bottom there. So if you've got like a larger size digital SLR style camera, you can slot this right to the top of the camera and you will have a good spotlight on whatever you're filming. Now you can adjust the brightness of this light. Right now, believe it or not, this is as dim as it goes. It won't go anymore. But I can really crank up the brightness on this thing. And like basically it's so bright that right now my camera can only focus in on the light. Everything else is almost black. So that's how bright this thing can get. It can light up a whole room. It's crazy. I mean, just look at how it is on the lowest setting against my hand there. Now you might think that this amount of light is overkill, but for my particular camera, it's really not. Basically, because you have so much light, there's no way that your camera can't work. It will sort of filter out the excess light, it will tone things down, and make it so much easier for that camera to do its job. Which is basically the whole idea. And they come with a couple of these gel slides. One of them is just a standard, I just call this one like a protector. It covers up the LEDs. You sort of slide it in through here, but they make the most ungodly squeaking, shrieking noise as you try to squeeze these in here, just because of the friction between the different kinds of plastic. But anyway, this one just protects and does not alter the color. This one is more like an incandescent color. It's more like a warm light. And it looks a bit excessive, staring at the light head on like this. But really, it's not bad once you use a few camera adjustments and have it back a certain ways. It works. It's a good color, and you can use then the white settings, white balance, in your camera to adjust this however you feel is necessary. So it's a really great tool, and my videos are going to wind up looking a lot better because of this thing. Additionally, this is supposed to run typically on AA batteries. It's capable of that. However, they drain down really fast, so I had asked, along with this thing, to receive a spare Sony battery, which fits in here perfectly, and then there's a charger for that too, along with my package. So this will last me a good while. I've been playing around with this thing for a fair amount of time, adjusting the power and everything, and the power indicator shows that we're still pretty much at full power here. So, very cool item, very helpful. This is going to be really nice to work with, and I'm glad to have it. Anyway, moving on, we also have something that's a little more personal, but I think it's really cool. It's this SanDisk Sansa MP3 player. Now, they come in a couple of sizes. You got your 4GB here, and then you've got an 8GB version too. Now that just refers to the internal storage. It's possible to use micro SD cards. I've got one stored in here right here. And I bought a 16GB version. So I have my entire music library stored just on the micro SD. So in total I'll have 20GB of music storage between the onboard memory and the SD. So I will never really need more storage for this thing. So it's a nice little device, decent battery life. They advertise about 15 hours, but I've found it less than that. Anyway, it's got pretty good sound too, good settings and everything, and it's very small, so you can, you can clip it on your clothes or stash it in your pocket or whatever. So it's a pretty nice little device, and it only cost me about 30 bucks roughly. And then the micro SD card was like another $7-8 or something. And I got this all off of Amazon, so very cool. But I want to move on to some of my other stuff here. And primarily this next little bit is going to be about movies and stuff. So first of all, I found this Life Stories DVD hosted by David Attenborough. I am a big fan of Mr. Attenborough and his work. He's done a bunch of nature programs since the 50s even, and this is sort of a compilation of some of his life experiences along with different topics about the natural world and other things like that. And it's just a fun watch. It's got 3 different 1 hour long episodes, and is actually an extension of the nature program that shows on PBS, and it's just a really nice, well done sort of history of his experiences, little anecdotes he's had from his experiences of his time out in the wild and doing these different shows he's worked on, and it's just pretty cool. It's nice to have, it's good to watch, and I was able to get a pretty good deal on this used, so happy to have given that a try. And along similar lines, I also picked up this What Plants Talk About PBS Nature Special DVD. I got these at the same time. I had a Barnes & Noble gift card, and I got these off the marketplace for grand total with shipping about 24 bucks. So I basically got them for free. And I haven't watched this one yet, but this seemed pretty interesting. Like, just the issue of thinking differently about plants and what they're like, and that they can actually communicate with each other and stuff. So that's pretty cool, and I look forward to giving this a shot. And one more thing that's sort of along the PBS vein of media here. I found an amazing, unprecedented deal on this. I love watching Bob Ross video clips on YouTube, and I catch the show when I can on different PBS stations that I can find it on. And they've had collections of these DVDs around, but always for ridiculous amounts of money, like 20 bucks for one DVD an hour long or something like that, and like 50, 60, 70, 80 bucks for some of these 10-disc versions with different like tutorials on how to do different paintings, how to get started and different things like that. If you will believe this, I got this 25 bucks free shipping off eBay. It was like one of the last few around. They're all gone now. I couldn't believe it. 25 bucks is unheard of for this kind of stuff. And I haven't even gotten through all of these episodes yet. And eventually, I would like to actually use these as sort of tutorials for doing maybe some of my own landscape painting myself, in his method, of course. Happy little trees. And anyway, and last but not least in the movie department, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. I loved seeing this movie in the theaters. I really did not think I was going to like it as much as I did. I just saw it on a whim, but now I think Marvel has really won me over. For a while I hadn't really been too sure about Marvel movies in general. Some of the other older-ish ones haven't really impressed me that much, and then I saw Avengers and thought that was cool. But I thought, this looks way too weird, I'm not gonna bother seeing that, and then I did, and now I love it. So, watched this already, and pretty happy with it. And now, moving on to some of the bigger and best things. I have here something that is going to become part of a larger project, which I'll explain later. But I purchased a Master Grade 2.0 original Zaku 2. And I already actually have the Shars version of this, but like I said, I have some very specific plans in mind for this kit, as well as one other. And I have one other thing to mention about this guy a little later, but I have to introduce the other part of this project first. And that would be the Master Grade Zaku Cannon. I think you might see where I'm going with this. I am going to attempt to do sort of a kit bash project, sort of a part swapping, interchanging of elements project between this and this. So it's going to be a project concerned with two different Zakus, with two different styles and two different weapon loadouts. Basically, my plan is the Zaku Cannon will be a long-range, heavy bombardment type, full with all the heavy, badass weaponry that comes between these two kits. Both bazookas, the rocket launchers, the cannon, of course, both bazookas, one comes with this, one comes with that, and I'm probably going to have, like, this one loaded out with both shields from each kit, you know, like this one shield will go on him, and then likewise, this shoulder armor will go along with that spiky shoulder armor on him. And so what's going to happen with him? You're going to think he's going to be way stripped down and everything. Well, maybe so. But I have a different plan in mind that's almost a little more ambitious for this guy. Needless to say, these rocket missile pods and the legs are probably going to go on my cannon Zaku. My general plan of attack for this guy is to make him sort of a support type for the long-range bombardment guy. He is going to be this sort of high-speed, rush-in-your-face with machine guns and heat hawks and something else that I'm going to show in a couple seconds here. But he's going to be like really high-speed, get-in-your-face, shoot you up and slash you up kind of Zaku. And I even think I have a name in mind for this. The Zaku Stinger. Maybe that would even be the name of the team, so to speak. The Zaku Stinger Attack Force or something like that. I don't know. But the one other major key element that I want to do here, well actually there's two. I would like to use bigger and more like booster type things on this kit. Like there's different spots that I might want to put one like under the feet, and bigger ones on the backpack, maybe additional ones on the backpack. Let me see. Like up here above the normal boosters, I'm going to replace those regular ones with maybe bigger ones. And then in those little spots up there, I'm thinking of attaching maybe a couple minor boosters. I'm probably going to put the cannon legs on him because they've got like vents and vernier type looking stuff along the bottom, and then he can sort of turn into like this high mobility Zaku almost, like where he can skirt around along the ground like a Dom or something. And he's going to have two machine guns, two shoulder armor, spiky shoulder armors. Maybe if I can even fashion it, I might put some spikes on the elbow armors and the knee armors and things like that, just to make it look really badass. And then to completely take it over the edge, I've got one more thing. I've got this Kotobukiya dynamic chainsaw weapon. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to assemble this and find a way of attaching it to the Zaku itself somehow. And this will be its, like, signature weapon. It is going to be a heat chainsaw. The blade of the chainsaw itself is going to be painted, maybe even in this invisible UV red paint, so that when I shine a black light on it, it's going to be as if it's like an active heat hawk, but in a chainsaw form. And what's really cool about this thing is it's actually a functioning chainsaw. There are like little gear motors and things inside of it that hook up to the chain itself and turn it after you've wound it up. This is gonna be really, really cool. And oh, I've never been this excited for a project before. And I imagine it won't be that hard because, first of all, there's very little cosmetic work that will have to be done. Most of it will be just my preferences, that I would like to maybe add a spike or two on one of the armors or something like that, or finding a way of making the weapons attach. But there's very little in the way of seam line removal, very little in the way of masking that will be necessary. You know, it will be basically just this really fun part swapping project here that I really have been wanting to try for a long time. I've loved the Zaku cannon design for so long, but I just couldn't figure what I really wanted to do with it. And now I've got a really cool idea here. So, I think that's about enough gushing about those two, except for one other little thing. I have on hand now also some decals. This one is for the real type Zaku color scheme, and you can kind of get an idea what that looks like there. And this one is for the Zaku cannon. And there's a couple different color schemes that work with these decals as well. Might interchange a few of these between whatever I'm going to do. You know, one Zaku might get some of these, and the other Zaku might get some of these, and the same thing applies for these decals. Just wherever they would naturally fit, I might put them and then have them sort of interchanged, just like the rest of the pieces on the rest of these models here. But anyway, that is the last little bit of model-related business I have to show for now, except for one other thing I'll show later. But I kind of want to show this next item first. And what I have here is a brand spanking new PlayStation 3. Now, yes, it's the 12GB version, but I actually purchased a 500GB hard drive from Western Digital that I have installed on this thing already, so now it's a much more ready machine to play a lot of the games that I have not been able to play until now. You might say, well, you know, there's a PlayStation 4 out now, why didn't I bother with that? PlayStation 4 is just a bit too expensive to ask for as a Christmas gift. I honestly didn't think I'd even get this. But there's also a bunch of titles that I have been wanting to play on PlayStation 3 for years now. And let me show you some of what I actually picked up. First of all, along with the system, I got The Last of Us. Very good, very well-made game. I'm sure most of you know what this is all about, have probably played it before. I know this goes on PlayStation 4 as well as the remastered version, but it really looks good on an HD TV. I mean, most of these games look amazing, just with an HDMI cable, so it's definitely a step up from my old PlayStation 2. Let's just put it that way. Then I got something from Walmart. I'm surprised I saw it there, because I thought this was only like a download-only title. But I picked up this Journey 3-pack, or actually it's a 5-pack, of different games that were made all by this same game group. And Journey's one of those games that's just... it's so simple, but it's so brilliant. and it's just so good. It's beautiful, and it's almost like an emotional experience to go through the game. It's got like no formal story, but there's enough setup going on here that you know what's going on, essentially. You've got to get to the top of this mountain, and it's just the adventure itself that is so appealing about this game, plus the visual styles and just the creativity behind it. And I could say similar things about Flower and Flow. I haven't played Flow very much. It's a little more difficult to control than I would like, but Flower is really fun. It's just so simple. Again, they're really good, and I'm pretty happy to have gotten a chance to play this. Next up, I've got two things that sort of go together. I've got Armored Core 4 and Armored Core 4 Answer. I've got both of these each for 20 bucks. I've been wanting to play these forever. I'm a huge Armored Core nut. I love them, even though they frustrate me to no end sometimes. Just the building of your own mech and the designing of it and the painting of it, it's almost like building your own Gundam model, but you get to play around with it, sort of like a Gundam Build Fighters type situation. So I think it's basically agreed upon that 4 Answer is a much bigger, better game than Armored Core 4. And I haven't played it yet. I'm working on clearing out Armored Core 4, building up a good mech, and then I'm going to continue on with that in this one. Because this is sort of the direct sequel and it runs off the same engine and everything, so definitely happy to have those. And another game that I wanted to play for a long time is a title called Vanquish. It's basically a simple run-around Gundam, wild, crazy, balls-to-the-walls, crazy, non-stop action game. You gotta play it or you gotta watch it to understand what I mean. It's just insane. And it's really fun. It's also really short, though. And the ending is sort of anticlimactic. It makes me wonder if we're gonna get a sequel. I would like to play a sequel, but I was just glad to finally get my hands on this after all the years I've had been wanting it since I first heard about it. And the last thing I have for now for my PlayStation is Alien Isolation. I'm an Alien fan, yes, and this game is really cool. It's just scary. It's great atmosphere. The design of it is fantastic. Even if you're not a big fan of the Alien franchise, and if you like games that are sort of like Outlast or Slender Man or things like that, give this a try. This is pretty cool stuff. So I'm working my way through this, trying to avoid that guy. And it's going alright so far. I've died a few times, I'm willing to admit, but oh well. But there's one last thing, one final item that I have for now from my holiday haul. And that would be my brand spankin' new Badger Renegade Chrome airbrush. I have seen people use this airbrush, and there are quite a few things about it that I really like and wanted it for. And the main things are that it has both a gravity feed system and it's got this dial on the end of it that you can use to control paint flow. According to how tightly or closely you dial this in, it will allow the lever to move back only a certain amount. The less of amount that it can move back, the less paint is sprayed, and the more control you have. Additionally, it stays at that level until you adjust it. So if you're doing something like shading or something, and you want to dial it way down so that you only get just the slightest amount of paint, it will be the same amount of paint every time, no matter what you're painting. And you won't have to worry about, you know, the error of your finger moving like, whoops, a little too far, and then you've sprayed black all over, or whatever other color you're using. So this is really cool for that reason. It's also just a much higher quality airbrush. I think I mentioned it's got 2 different needle nozzle combinations. One of them's more like a fine, the other's a super fine. Basically, it's just a really good airbrush. Now, I don't know what I am going to do with my my Badger Anthem, the one I've been using up until now. Obviously, I won't be able to use either of them until the weather improves, because I can't go outside with, you know, snow on the ground and freezing temperatures. And again, I can't accommodate any form of an indoor airbrush setup. Believe me, I wish I could. But I think I might keep the other one just as sort of like a backup brush, or for maybe doing things like laying down primer or other stuff like that. The Anthem has served me well, but I am definitely excited to try to give my new one a try. And, well, basically that is all I have to show for now. I definitely have a few things coming in the mail that I will want to show once I eventually get them. Some things I might have to do with my project here, and some other things as well. But anyway, I just figured I'd show this off. I know this has been quite a long video, but thank you for sticking with it. I hope you enjoyed it. And until the next time, I will have my new work in progress video for the Wing Zero up shortly, and I hope you look forward to that too. So, thank you for watching. Until the next time, catch you later, everybody.